A topic we touched on in the Ajax module of this course was how to practice unobtrusive JavaScript. Unobtrusive JavaScript is removing all signs of JavaScript from a view, so it's not intruding into that declarative markup that you have inside of a view. The advantages to unobtrusive JavaScript is that your view again becomes strictly about presentation. It's about the HTML and the things that you need to display to the user. Meanwhile, how that view is going to behave on the client, all those behaviors packaged up into JavaScript code that's going to be in a separate script file that gets included into the view. This is another case of separation of concerns. Just as the MVC framework separates the controller code from the view code, and even the web forms environment, we had the ASPX file that was full of declarative markup and server controls. We separated the C# code into a code behind file, and that was responsible for managing page lifecycle events and responding to server control events. Those pieces have different responsibilities, and it's good to keep them separate so you can focus on the task at hand. Now, there are some disadvantages to unobtrusive JavaScript, since you'll be creating separate JavaScript files for nearly every view. There's going to be additional JavaScript files for the client to download. You'll have multiple script tags inside of each view, and the browser responds to that by opening up another connection for each one of those script files to download the JavaScript. If you're building a public website that's on the internet and you're worried about how quickly your page is going to render to the end user, then these multiple script file downloads are going to present a problem for you. But again, that's something that you have to time and benchmark and measure before you are certain it's going to be a problem. But if it is, there's a number of projects out there that can help you combine your script files so that the browser will only need to do a single JavaScript download. One example is the MVC Combine project that's on Codeplex.com. What you do after you download this project is that you give it some configuration information about how you want to combine your script files, and at runtime it will inject the script tag for you, and the browser is only going to see one JavaScript download. The combiner might put together 5 or 6 or a dozen JavaScript files. This way, in your development environment, all your separate JavaScript components or JavaScript pieces are still in separate files, so they're easy to manage and easier to understand, but at runtime they're going to be optimized for a download. Something else the combiner can also do is minify those files before they're sent out over the wire. That's essentially compressing them down so that it's a smaller download. In the Ajax module, we saw how easy it was to practice unobtrusive JavaScript because we have the jQuery library available. And the jQuery selectors allow us, from an external JavaScript file, to easily reach into the DOM and select elements by a CSS class, or by an ID, or by their relative position to some parent. Once we get those items selected, it's easy to add event handlers to certain actions, like a click event or a mouse out event, to add animation to those elements. So unobtrusive JavaScript doesn't make your programming any more difficult. If anything, it allows you to focus on your JavaScript code and give it the attention it deserves.